What's up, everyone? I'm Scott,
And I'm Jason.
and you are listening to Liquid Carnage. My friend, we have made it 2023.
2023, and I don't know. It's probably a weird thing, but I've never liked odd numbered years. I don't know why. I'm
Uh-huh.
just an even numbered guy, I guess, or something about even. I was born in an even number, so I have an affinity to that. So
Uh,
2023 is just kind of strange.
See, I was born in an odd number year, so maybe I'm naturally drawn to the odd number because I figure, what the hell, um, I'm used to it. So, and it seems like my better years have always been odd number years.
Oh, okay, okay. My better years have probably been even numbered years. To 2022 was a great year. I turned 50. I had all my friends down to hang out with me. It was awesome. So Rams won the Super Bowl in 2022. So I mean, I had a good year there. So maybe that's what it is.
Maybe that's true. Maybe you just had a great year.
I did have a
You,
good year. Gosh
you
darn
had
it.
a you had a
So
really good year.
now maybe 2023 will be better though. Okay, maybe
Um,
2023
I,
will be better. And I need to
you
be
know,
open to being better. You know what I mean? I'm okay with it being better and being open to being better. Okay.
I think as you get older, the years are what you make of it. Some, we get presented challenges in our life that we can't always see coming or have to deal with the way we'd like to deal with. So we just have to kind of roll with the punches.
Yep.
As you get older, you learn to roll with the punches. And I think that's maybe what 2023 is for everyone, because the last couple years, especially 2020, 2021, have taught everybody that you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And you roll with the
Ooh.
punches, and you figure out how to adapt and overcome if you have been able to overcome. So
Yeah.
I feel like this is a year where everyone just starts to flourish because we're finally out of the darkness, as it were, of COVID, and we're just pushing forward. Whether it's a thing or not anymore is really not up to me. I'm just going where the world tells me to go and have a good time with it.
Well, and we're coming up on we're coming up on a big events in terms of birthdays are coming up for you and some of our friends, and so it's always a good time. Always a good time.
Yeah, the hard part for the New Year's, and this is something that's always been the hard part for me, is it seems like snow is always fun in December. Like, oh, it's cold now, it's snowing. You get the calendar turns to January. It's like, ah, fuck, it's cold. I hate
And
this.
boy, we've been bombarded in December with wet weather. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
remember it being this wet, this late like this in a long time. So it's been. I drove down from Dean's house on Sunday after New Year's, and the rain for the first hour and a half of the drive was just constant pour. Roads were terrible. We even got the alert that it was cold. It was like 38 degrees outside of Kingman. There might be ice on the road. So it was not something that me as an Arizonan, would be okay
used
with,
to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah. No,
exactly.
Janice's mom is here with us right now, and she lives in Texas, and she's trying to figure out when to drive back because they're in tornado warnings and flash flood warnings and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. Was It's normally not a problem, but it's just that it's whatever the weather is this year. It's an El Nino or La Nina, whatever the hell it is, winter, I guess.
Yeah. When they say that it's what do they call it? Not astronomical. Um, what do they call atmospheric river? That's not a good term to be associated
No,
with in your neck of the woods. You're in the midst of an atmospheric river. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
The nice thing is, though, with all this wet weather, when it does start to warm up and things start to bloom, the desert is going to be beautiful for about a week, and then all the ragweed and everything else that's going to bloom is going to make
Yeah.
the entire state start to sneeze.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm
This
looking
is
forward to
when
that.
this I will say this is the time of year though between like November and February when going to the Eastern Caribbean, Western Caribbean, places that are kind of in the tropics is
Mhm.
really nice because their weather's like 70, 75
Yeah,
degrees, sunny, so beautiful.
it, you know, it's funny you mentioned that because I have a colleague. I was talking to her last week, and we were just talking about vacations and the holidays. And I said, next year we don't have the girls, so it'll just be Janice and I for Christmas. And she goes, "Well, I have a house in like the Virgin Islands. If you guys want to go use that, just pay for the cleaning fee, just go right ahead." Um, so, and I won't take no for an answer.
Oh,
I'm like,
well,
oh,
you're booked. You're
oh,
booked then, my friend.
that's like okay. She goes, if you don't want to go Christmas, if you don't go some other time, but this is where we go, and I'll tell you where to go here, 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 and here. Like, oh, okay. Like we are down. So
Oh, and the Virgin
absolutely,
Islands are beautiful, man. They're so nice because they've got that clear water and the
yeah.
weather's pretty temperate. Once you get outside of tornado season, hurricane season, it's not tornado, hurricane season. It's really
Oh yeah.
nice.
Oh yeah. I was just laughing because she's just going on about you guys will have to adjust because it's only an 1,100 square foot house. It's like that's fine.
Yeah, for two people, that's more than
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, that's fine.
Well,
No
not to
big deal.
mention, you guys are gonna go tribal, right? I mean, you guys will barely just wear enough to keep you from getting burned alive as
Probably,
just become native.
probably.
Raw native, man. It's
I
like
was
you and the elements, and that's
it's
it.
that or I'll go full pirate. I don't know. One or the
Oh,
other.
although yeah, that might be kind of fun too.
Captain Jack or full native. There's time. There's time to see. We'll figure it out. So you know, but
Well,
that's a great
I re-
segue. What's that?
I remember when we did that one podcast where we did the this we got crashed on an island or something in an airplane, and we had to pick the items to keep for survival.
Oh yeah, but there's a list of items of that one, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a list. If you were to crash on the tropical island, as long as you could find clean food and water,
Uh huh.
it wouldn't be bad. You'd make it work.
Yeah, I could be okay with it. Like
Yeah, you know.
if there's an abundance of food and clean water, I don't think it's a big deal at all. Like take your time rescuing me. It's fine.
Oh, well, what my favorite novel is Robinson Crusoe, and
Hmm.
that's basically the premise is that he was, stranded on an island for 30 years, but he had enough supplies and stuff that he basically made a pretty good life for himself, you know?
Oh
He
yeah,
had like a little farm, he had goats, he had plenty of food, so it worked out okay for him.
and that was one of my favorite movies growing up was Swiss Family Robinson. Same principle.
Oh
You
yeah, I mean, Swiss Family Robinson, Robinson Crusoe, pretty much
the
uh,
same.
it's Dances with Wolves and Avatar.
Avatar Dances with Wolves. Absolutely. I was just gonna say that. So that's a great topic today because speaking of islands, um, that's what we decided to talk about because it's the first episode of the year. It's I'm not gonna lie, we were together this weekend, so it got a little wild for the new year. We're not as young as we used to be, so
No.
even a few days later, I'll fully admit I'm still exhausted.
I
So,
I was still tired. I was still tired on the way home too. But let's just say this: all of our clothes were still on by the end of the night.
oh, that's good.
Yeah, no. Usually, but when we were younger, there was always a shirt was off, a tie was off. I mean, something was not part of the original costume. So we are doing better. We're more mature now.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, man. Like anymore, because I go to work early in the morning, staying up late. Uh, I don't like it very much, and
Yeah.
it's because I'm really a true believer in man, get up and get the day going and get as much done as you can as early as you can, so you have the rest of the time to screw around. But when you're tired, go to bed. And I'm just not used to being up late anymore, and I think I'm okay with it. I think I'm fine just being an early riser. You
Yeah,
know,
well, and I think I'm like you. I mean, I really do not like you party all night. That's great. I don't like sleeping until 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
yeah,
I
no,
just don't like that. I'd rather muscle through even if I'm a little sick and get up at 7, get moving, get going, than party until 2 o'clock in the morning, but then be up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's just not me.
yeah, I get that, and that's just age and experience, my friend.
I
Age
know.
and experience. So, anyway,
Age and experience, baby.
those being the reasons why we're picking these topics today. Uh, if you were on a desert island, I will go three items. If you could have three items, if food and water, clean water, were taken care of,
Okay.
what would those items be?
Now, I'm going to Kowalska this a little bit. Do I need more items for simply for survival, or can my items be just rendered as to make my living there much more comfortable? Because like if I need to like build shelter and stuff, then obviously a saw might be something I would need or something else. But if we're just trying to have fun with it and stay light, then my choices of what I would keep on the island might be different.
You have three items you can take on this island, and food and water are okay. You
Okay.
have plenty of food and plenty of clean water available to you. How you get that is up to you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Oof. And I got to admit too that when you live on a desert island, I mean on a tropical island,
Mhm.
obviously the weather is going to be not as much of a concern for yourself, right? I mean
I
that's going
would
to
assume
be
so, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, um, okay, have you come up with your first item?
I have, yes.
I have also come up with my first item. So, do you want to start or you want me to start?
I will defer to you.
Okay, I will let you start
Fine.
then.
Very nice. I would take a machete.
Okay, so you would take uh, a
Mhm.
cutting apparatus of some sort. You think a machete or a saw? Because
Well,
I would think of a saw would be nice if you have to cut down a tree, or like a machete. You I guess you could hack that too. I guess.
I say machete because it could double as something if you have to kill some of your food. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to kill your food with a saw.
Uh-huh.
So that's just me thinking out loud with that.
Okay. Okay. So machete. Yeah. I mean, my first item was a utensil to cut. And I was thinking a saw to cut like trees and branches and stuff. But you're right. I mean, any sort of blade would be okay. Even if I had a saber,
Yeah.
I think I would work at that. So I agree with you. My first item would definitely be some sort of saw for the ability to cut, uh, you know, kill, cut, and destroy.
Do you think you could be on Survivor and actually like be able to build stuff?
Um, I personally don't think I would. I don't think I'd make it. I have to be honest with you. I'm not resourceful enough to know how to do the survival things. Like we have friends, right? We have friends that I know for a fact. Uh, if they were caught in a situation where food and water was taken care of, but everything else they had to fend for themselves, they would survive no problem. I
Mhm.
don't think I'm one of those people.
Well, that's good. At least you understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that my shelter would probably be built and raised and lowered and had to be rebuilt many times.
Yeah.
I think that everything would be like transporting water, for example. I think that would be really difficult if you didn't know how to, what to do that. So I feel like I would die. That's not really the question we asked, but I feel like I would not do well by myself on a desert island like Robinson Crusoe.
That's fair. I don't think I do well by myself either. I think I'd go nuts from the.
Now, you and me, we'd have to have our phones to do the podcast. I mean, that would be a given.
That's fair. Fair. That's
Liquid Carnage, desert island style.
yeah. Liquid Courage Survivor with those. Yeah. Yeah. So the second item, it's not a cell phone. I mean,
No, no,
no,
I
no.
would not do a cell phone.
Um, I honestly, I would have to go with a giant canvas tarp.
Okay, for shelter, I assume.
Yeah, shelter because it's multi-purpose. It's shelter. It can be a variety of things. So, and canvas is very sturdy anyway, so it'll last a very long time.
Well, and they say that a canvas is nice too because when you spread it out, anyone from the air could come and see you, right? Like they could see
That's fair.
you, see the tarp, and they'd be able to do that. Okay,
So
I went in a little bit different direction. So I went with like, and I don't know if you can combine it this way, but I went with um paper, writing utensil, and a match for creating fire.
okay,
For a couple reasons. One, obviously, at night, you'd probably have to have a fire to cook your food and to,
some kind of warmth.
yeah, some type of warmth.
Keep the animals away.
Um, but two, you know me, if I was spent all day on the island, at some point I would probably get a little bored. And so the idea of writing in a journal or writing some sort of documentation of what I was going through, even if I didn't survive the island, that someone would know that I lived and I went and I was there. I would want the ability to write that.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So you have a cutting tool and a writing utensil, essentially, and fire,
Yeah, and
paper
I
and fire.
use a paper and fire. I probably would combine the two of those, paper and fire, because the writing tool, obviously, I'd have to figure that out, but I could do that. But some sort of ability to write and use the paper for fire starting.
So I want to go back to the canvas for a second. And you mentioned that
Okay.
say if you spread the canvas out, it can be seen from the air. That being said, if you're setting up your camp, are you going deep into the jungle, or are you staying within eyesight of the beach?
My so here's my thought on that. See, my thought would be that part of your sustenance for your food is probably fishing of some sort.
Hmm.
Versus if you go into the jungle, you're more susceptible to any wild animals that might live in the jungle that would attack you at night.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's why my thought was is that I would probably live closer to the beach. One because of its proximity to fishing, but two just to keep out of harm's way in case there's wild animals that I have to protect myself from.
Yeah, you know, with my
Because
luck.
I have to admit, that would be my luck. I would get this nice little hut. I'd have nice little shelter. Everything would look really nice. And then all of a sudden, some animal would come and gore me or something, and I'd die. I wouldn't even live five
Yeah,
minutes because I got gored or eaten or something like that.
yeah, with my luck, I'd be on the island of Komodo dragons, and they just
Y-
rip me apart. You know,
Exactly. That's the other thing too. Is my thought is if I have to live on a desert island, I want to have a nice view. I want to have
yeah,
ocean view.
yeah.
And you know me, I have to have the sleep sounds of the ocean roaring on my Echo, so I can fall asleep. So
Oh, yeah, I get that.
even
I prefer the
though I
rain,
don't have it,
but yeah,
yeah,
that's a very nice point. So number three, third thing.
hmm
So I've got a machete, giant canvas tarp. I need a heat source. You reminded me of that, so I'm gonna have to go with something that will start fires for me, whether it be a flint and steel or a lighter that never goes bad. Something like that.
Okay, okay. Now I'm going to go a little different because while the canvas, I do think it would be a really good idea. I get the thinking that I probably would want a pail, a bucket, something to carry water, or if I need to bring rocks to make a outdoor um, shelter, rocks to make a fire pit. I would want something to carry that in. So my thought would be some sort of pail, bucket, to carry water and other things around easier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think I think the third thing would be a bucket or some sort of transportation transport.
Yeah, I consider something like that too, and that's not a bad idea. But so since it's New Year's, and
Okay,
we're debating, we still have some time on the show.
we
We
do have a
talked
little
about
time.
the three things that we just discussed that we would have with us on a desert island. Um, Now let's just say you find a luxury item,
Ooh.
an item that you can have. I'm not talking like a cell phone to call and get picked up or whatever else, but something that would be helpful to you.
Okay, but
Um,
not necessarily a cell phone because you're right. You wouldn't have ability to charge that. So,
yeah, but something that,
uh,
okay, like this is helpful for my survival here. What would that be?
okay. Oh man. Um, Gosh, something that would be a luxury that I really, really like. I feel like this would be a waste, but boy, I would love that. Um, the ability to make popcorn, I think, would be really nice. If I could have that luxury, I would want that because I need some popcorn, man. I don't know how much fish and stuff I could eat without my popcorn.
That's fair. So
Can I make a magic item? Maybe not a luxury, but a magic item that gives me popcorn and whenever and I want.
I guess so. Otherwise, you're asking for corn and oil to put
In
in the
that case,
pan.
I want a 727. Okay, that's what I want.
Yeah. No, man. If you want popcorn as your special luxury item, that's fair. I think you're more than entitled to it.
I don't know. It's probably a waste though. What would you have as your luxury item?
Yeah, I was gonna say something like a sleeping bag, but now that we're thinking on your level,
Oh, a sleeping bag. Well, here's the thing. That would be nice too because you could use it as a cushion. You
mhm.
could make it as a bed. You could make it for warmth. You could, hell, you could use that as a thing. You put stuff on the sleeping bag and drag it, to wherever you need it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
All
mean,
right.
there's
Sleeping bag would be nice.
multi-use.
Well, if we're going to talk about that, I think I'd rather have a pillow than a sleeping bag.
Oh, that's fair.
Because pillows, my neck gets kinked, and I just don't do good when my neck's kinked.
Yeah, okay, I get that. I get that. There's
You
a lot of.
know,
Go ahead.
that's another thing too. Is we don't have any rope. Rope would be really nice too.
Yeah, yeah, I
Because
consider
you
rope.
could make a net for fish. You could make tie things together on your to make your fort or your
Now,
cover.
would you want rope or would you want twine? Because I
Oh,
feel like if you had twine, you could use it for like a fishing lure if you can figure that out. Otherwise, you have to spear fishing. Um,
yeah, you'd have to use your machete for that.
you know,
Oh, I don't
if you've
know.
ever tried to thrust in the water, it's hard to thrust a machete in the water. I can only imagine. So,
Would you want a musical instrument? Do
if
you
I
think that
played one,
you well, if you pick one, you could pick a luxury item, maybe a musical instrument like a guitar or harmonica, or do you think that would just get old after a while?
I think it would get old after a while. I mean, if I was
So
going to
what are
take
you
something
gonna
that's,
do on the island though? This is what I worry about with you, Kern, is what would you do on the island? Like
oh,
how would you make your day go?
I
If you didn't
would.
have some activity, I feel like you'd be squirrel.
I feel like every day your activity is survival at that point. So what I would do is I would probably be the guy that would be out scavenging, trying to figure out how to write SOS and logs on the beach
Okay.
or out of rocks. Um, Hunting food is always is always something you have to do. So I don't think it's like anything that you know. I don't think there's ever going to be a lack of something to do. So you might have down days because you're going to need to rest, but I would never say that there's always going to be a day where like, all right, fuck, what do I do now?
You know what? And a rope would be good to make you make a hammock.
Yeah,
That'd be nice.
well, or
Like a
just a
little
hammock in
resting
general. Give it a
hammock.
nice luxury item. Yeah,
Yeah.
because maybe you want to be off the ground because all the creepy crawly critters and whatnot.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, off the ground, or if it rains and you want to dry some clothes, you'd want to get them up, hang them out or whatever. Oh, see, three items would make it very much. You would only be able to survive. You wouldn't be able to really have much fun.
You couldn't flourish with it.
No, you would definitely. You would definitely. Now, don't get me wrong. I guess with the machete, you could take wood and maybe shave it into like long strands and
Mm-hmm.
maybe tie ropes that way. So you might be able to fashion a rope
Yeah,
that way if you wanted to.
I mean that would take a whole lot longer. That takes a lot of patience for that, and
We got nothing but time, baby.
that's true. That's true. You got nothing but time. So it's almost like that show, Naked and Afraid. You ever watched that on Discovery?
I do. I have watched it, and that's the other thing too. Is you're by yourself in our scenario. It would make a whole hell of a lot of difference if you had one or two or three people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if and I'm just thinking out loud here, if you have 2 to 3 people, that means you have 6 to 9 items, not just three,
True, and everyone
potentially.
would pick something different. Yeah,
If
that's good.
everybody picks something differently, you have the ability to make this uh, potentially terrible situation like to a pretty decent living scenario.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now think about this, Scott. I want you to think about this for a second. Take your current situation right now with your 401k, your money in the bank, money in savings,
Uh huh.
and you just left it there for 20 years without touching it or doing anything else, right? Because you'd be on an island for, let's say, 20 years. When you came
Hmm.
back, you have all that money just sitting there waiting for you.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
As long as the market does well.
Yeah, yeah, but then you could have all this money to party. You could because you wouldn't be spending it. It'd be great.
Well, I would like to think that if you were rescued after 20 years on a desert island, that you will have a source of income coming in from all the book deals and movie deals and interviews from people wanting to talk to you about your experiences.
Do you think that getting stranded on an island would devolve you as a human?
I
That
think so.
you would like regress into more of a not a Neanderthal, like "Boo, I can't talk," but what I
Would,
mean is like
would you go feral?
your
Could you have?
natural instincts would be honed because they've taken away everything that we've become so accustomed to as for comfort.
So you're asking would you go feral?
Yeah,
I think so. I think that's almost to a point where if you're not around any of the humans at that point, you basic social skills and basic things that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis would go away.
Right.
I mean, not because we're trying to force them away, just because lack of use.
Right.
You know? I mean, have you ever, and you don't play video games, so this may be a bad scenario, but if you haven't played a video game for years,
Mm-hmm.
and then after 10 years or so, you come back to it and you start playing again, you're like, oh crap. You're like, I used to be able to do everything. Now I have to figure it all out. But within like a couple minutes, it all comes flying back to you. Like, that's right. I can do this, 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 and this. So maybe your memory can be jogged. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah. The other thing I wonder too is I think I agree with you. I think that it's kind of like when you go blind, your other senses kind of enhance. I feel like that's what would happen is all the comforts that you're used to are gone away. Your natural instincts and your natural tendencies as just an animal that happens to be human would start to kick in, and you probably kind of like that movie with Tom Hanks where
Oh,
he was
Castaway? Yeah.
yeah, Castaway. He's having a tough time even trying to get the fish, and then he throws a spear from like 20 feet away and kills the fish, like nails it right. I feel like that's what would happen is your social skills would start to leave and your instinct survival skills would kick into a new level.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that seems like the most appropriate idea. You know?
Yeah, the other thing that would scare me too is I wonder if complete isolation would affect your mental state.
It would
Like
affect
just
mine.
like it would just no one to talk to, no one to interact with, and like I said, your thoughts are go from what we think about in today's world to just survival. If there would be some sort of mental loss, like you not go crazy per se, but kind of go crazy.
I think for me, there would be just that out of the ability, because I'm such a in-person person, not having that would make me regress to a certain extent, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that would definitely be a fear of mine too, because while I love being by myself, one, there's always someone that I could call if I wanted to, and I wouldn't have that. Two, there's always an activity I could do, and I wouldn't have that. So, two of the things that probably keep my sanity in my place in the world right now would be gone. I wonder what my mind would turn into, um, prolonged isolation like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that have had that happen to them, and the studies have to be fascinating with that, you know.
Well, even people that stay in jail for like 25, 30 years and then they get acquitted because of, DNA or something. I mean, 30 years, I know they're not isolated, but sometimes they're isolated in prison. How they keep their mental faculties going when, you don't get to see a lot of people or you're in isolation. I mean, that would be tough, man.
Yeah,
That
it
would
would
be
be very
tough.
tough. Yeah, you know,
And then
that's
trying to come back into society again too would even be difficult at that point.
yeah. Would you even want to at that point? I think I'd go off and live close to society, but just stay on the edge.
I'm not quite sure how to respond. I mean, think about this. If you were on a desert island for 20 years,
Hmm.
20 years, think how much the world would change in 20 years that you wouldn't even be able. I mean, not only are you 20 years behind, but then you've also devolved and you've lost a little bit of your mental capacity. You're right. You might say, I need to stay as far away from people as possible because it's too fast. I don't get it.
Yeah, yeah, it's not good for me. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Just
Now, obviously, if I had Noreen there, that wouldn't be too bad. We'd make
yeah,
it work.
you'd be fine. You'd be perfect.
You and Janice there, it'd make it work.
Yeah, we'd be all right. We'd be good. We'd be good.
We'd
So
be okay.
yeah. So as we wrap up today's show, if you're on a desert island and you have your three items, what are they? We want to hear about them. Are they creative? Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. And we're going to shake it up today for the EP. He doesn't like to go to the desert island, so if he's trapped on a mountaintop up in the greater Colorado area, what items would he need to survive? Or limit three. Hit him up on Instagram and Twitter at liquid_EP.
Well, next year we're going to talk, or next week we're going to talk about nuclear proliferation. So we'll
Yes.
we'll come off the light and go to the dark. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I'd say peace treaty
Yeah.
between Middle Eastern countries
Yep.
and Eastern Europe.
Yeah. No. Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I agree with that. So that's yeah. No, I'm glad we kind of talked light because we were talking about a couple heavy things, and I didn't want to upset the EP by doing another topic of mine. So I'm
Yeah.
glad we did this.
It's just obviously, yeah, let's do this. So that being said, Jason, take us home.
Happy New Year, everybody! Welcome to 2023. That was Scott. I am Jason, and as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some liquid courage.